Mark, you're taking a closer look at Israel's intelligence failure that failed to stop the Hamas terror attack. And you write in part, quote, humility is the notion that sometimes we do make mistakes. We must own up to them, and then we can determine how to best fix things. I'm not privy to my former classified world, but I sense that the after-action reviews will be brutal. From Israel's over-reliance on technology, such as a border fence and sensors, to the U.S. likely ceding the Hamas target to Israel because of other priorities and counterterrorism, the forensics will lay bare what occurred. Humility is best. That is the best response after such an event. This leads me to my final point. Human intelligence, the recruitment of spies, and in this case, a penetration of Hamas seems to have been neglected. A single source can change the course of history. That is a dramatic statement, but that is often what I tell college students when I lecture on national security and the intelligence community. And I think, yeah, there will be a lot of after-action reports.
There will.
Joe, and what President Biden did by continuing with the trip, even though other Arab nations pulled out of the summit, meeting with Netanyahu, holding him close.
Right.
And then, I think remarkably, meeting with his war cabinet. I think it was smart of Israel and smart of Netanyahu, given the criticism he's receiving for the late response and the fact that this even happened, and the way he was running his government, and and the indictments he faces. There's a lot of questions.
It's a great point. A bear hug is not going to save Netanyahu.
Meeting with the war cabinet is transparency. Is sort of like,
listen,
let's look at this.
I agree. I'm just saying, on the Israeli side, we're talking about after-action reports.
Right.
A hug with Joe Biden may help in the short term. It's not going to help Netanyahu in the long term. You talk about these breakdowns, and Mark, let's talk about this because it's systemic. You and I talked about this before the attack. I've been hearing from Israeli sources, I'm sure you have for the past year, about the split, that you have the secular military and intel leaders that were protesting Netanyahu's attack against the Supreme Court and the court system. You had them on one side, and you had Netanyahu and a bunch of right-wing religious supporters on the other side, and I'm talking far right-wing. And so what we heard for a year leading up to this was, or at least what I did, you can confirm it if you want to, that Netanyahu got a lot of the professionals out. And he was surrounded, I'm just quoting what I was told before the attacks. He surrounded himself with a bunch of ideological clowns that weren't good for the military and weren't good for the intel community. That's why I think so many Israelis are glad to see this coalition government where professionals are coming back into the cabinet. But I think when we talk about the intel failures, much of it will have to do with intel failures. Much of it will have to do with military failures. But man, I've got to believe most of it, when they really dig in there, it's going to be surrounded with political failures by politicians who took their eyes off of job one. When you're running Israel, you're protecting Israel. That is job one. You're not protecting yourself from indictments, and you're not protecting yourself from the Supreme Court, and you're not protecting yourself from the judicial system. And I'm not saying this like with any ideological slant. I'm just saying it's hard to believe that's not where this after-action report is going to really, really reveal some of Israelis' failings and why Israel's leaders slept.
So, Joe, it's interesting. In the days after the attack, Ronan Bar, the head of Shin Bet, he's a career Shin Bet officer. He'd been a commando in Israel's most elite unit. He then joined Shin Bet as a field agent, rose up through the ranks. He actually came out and took responsibility for the intel failures. The head of Israeli military intelligence just the other day did the same. What you haven't heard, of course, is Netanyahu do so. And I think the after-action report is going to be brutal, as I noted, and the political dynamic is going to have to be addressed. That said, I do think that the Israeli services are going to have to kind of take a look at themselves, because the idea that there was a 2,000-man terrorist army, which involved logistics, planning, training, that they were not able to recruit just a single source. I call it the power of one. One single source could have altered perhaps the course of certainly near-term history in the Middle East.
Can you tell me why it took 6 hours when Israelis were being tortured and beaten and their neighbors being burned and raped? Why did it take the army 6 hours to get down there and kill the terrorists?
So, it looks like at this point in time, the army was actually deployed in the West Bank because of a lot of problems between settlers and the Palestinians and Hamas and others in the West Bank. So there's going to be a lot of questions on that. Did Israel rely on, technical means, on signals intelligence, on sensors along the Gaza border?
I hate to stop you there, Mark. I'm going to get back to you there in 1 second. Claire, I need to go to you here too, and I'm only doing this. The only thing I care about is the safety of Israelis and the security of Israelis as I talk about this. Claire, this is something else. You and you've probably heard it. I've been hearing it for a year now, that Netanyahu was so obsessed with the West Bank and pushing settlements and pushing Palestinians out of their homes and expanding those settlements for political purposes. Because when he did that, when he expanded Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which was his obsession and it was his focus, it helped him with his far-right Orthodox supporters. And so he was obsessed on the West Bank for political purposes. And while he was obsessed in expanding settlements into Palestinian territories, you had Hamas planning a brutal attack that killed thousands of Israelis.
Yeah, Netanyahu, I'm sure it will not happen right now because they want to have a unity government, but he's in big trouble. And by the way, let's add this to the equation, Joe. Not only was he politically focused on the West Bank because he was trying to keep his coalition together, which embraced some of the most extreme Orthodox Jewish factions in Israel, he actually, that faction, those folks don't support the military. So you have a growing Orthodox population in Israel, but they are the ones that do not go to the military. They do not fight on behalf of the Israeli citizens. They do not protect them from Hamas and from Hezbollah. So it is really an internal domestic thorny problem for Israel to how to reconcile the far-right Orthodox and the security needs of the country, especially because the Orthodox population is growing at a much larger pace than the rest of the non-Orthodox population. So this is a security problem wrapped in a political problem, wrapped in a Netanyahu problem. I think the Netanyahu problem will go away in a little bit, but it's a big part of this, the reason this happened.
Well, and wrapped in a religious problem. Mark, I'm so sorry I interrupted you, but you brought up the West Bank. And again, all I'm saying here is what I've been hearing over the past year and the warnings that I've been hearing from sources on Israel. Mark, I'm sure you have to, but go ahead. You brought up the West Bank. I wanted Claire to explain the politics of that and how that actually was one of the reasons the government may have taken their eyes off of Hamas and focused politically on the West Bank. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Sure. So it has to do with resources. So if the IDF is moved to the West Bank, away from their usual posts at Gaza, just by definition, they're not there to deploy in case of crisis. Now, the Shin Bet director, when he kind of did his mea culpa, he also noted that 10 Shin Bet officers who actually rushed to the scene were killed in the attack. So those kind of forensics are really important because at the end of the day, the IDF is supposed to be this shield, and the intelligence service as well. And the fact that there were not there, manning the ramparts on the border, in particular when there was this, music festival within kilometers. Joe, the way I look at this, it's almost like an airplane crash. There's so many factors that went into this disaster. And when I go back to the idea of the power of one, of a single source, if one single penetration of Hamas had been able to tell the Israeli security establishment what was happening, and this is a source who could be tasked and debriefed. It's not it's not like an intercept. It's not like a piece of imagery. It's a dynamic relationship. If they had gotten just that one piece right, perhaps we're not here today, and some of these other failures we're talking about would not have been as significant.
Obviously, this was not spontaneous. This was long planned. So, Mark